The following is a feature presentation of the Replay Sports Channel, the home for great games.
Hello, football fans, and welcome to the Replay Sports Channel's WFL Inside Access 2025 Week 5 Review Show. This episode of the Replay Sports Channel is being brought to you by Royal Retros, your ultimate one-stop shop representing the teams of the past. Royal Retros has something for you. Every product tells a unique story, and you can be sure that you will stand out from the crowd with something different. Head over to Royal Retros today and use the discount code REPLAY to get 10% off your purchase. The link will be provided in the show description. Week 5 of WFL 2025 included some tasty divisional matchups. Birmingham at Atlanta in the south, St. Louis at Chicago in the north, and the Battle of the Unbeatens in the west, featuring Arizona at San Diego. The Inside Access crew takes you through all of the highlights.
Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we're digging into WFL Week 5. And honestly, this felt less like a regular week of football and more like a major pivot point for the whole season.
It really did. We've gone through the sources, the game reports, the analytics, and it seems like this was the week the pretenders got exposed.
Absolutely. The picture that emerges is, well, it's defined by undefeated streaks getting shattered, some incredible individual performances, and frankly, the total collapse of a few teams we thought were contenders.
So for this deep dive, we've kind of structured our thinking around three big themes. First, that dramatic clash of the unbeatens out west. Then you had these two wild defensive games. One was just pure perfection. The other was bizarre.
Bizarre is the right word.
And finally, a series of blowouts that all seemed to hinge on one thing: getting to the quarterback. We need to figure out what this all means for the playoff picture now that we're heading toward the mid-season mark.
Okay, let's jump right in with the biggest headline of the week. The Battle of the Undefeateds. The Arizona Rattlers beat the San Diego Fleet 37-23.
And the immediate takeaway, the thing that just jumps off the page, is that Arizona, who is now 5-0, they were 7-point underdogs in this game.
Which is crazy, Ray. It tells you everything you need to know about the perception gap that Arizona just completely closed on Sunday.
Yeah, the market just didn't believe in them yet. But they proved they're for real. And what's interesting is how they did it. San Diego had all the momentum early. They were up 16-10 at halftime.
Right, it looked like San Diego's game to lose.
But then the second half happened. Arizona scored 24 unanswered points. That's not just a lucky break. That's a systematic dismantling of your opponent. It's just institutional efficiency.
And a big part of that efficiency had a name. Bijan Robinson. I mean, he was the engine. He ran for 202 yards and 2 touchdowns.
202 yards.
When you do that, you just own the line of scrimmage, you own the clock. The Rattlers had the ball for nearly 37 minutes.
And that time of possession, that's the silent killer in these games. It means San Diego's defense was just gassed. They're on the field for 3/4 of the game trying to stop the run.
Which then opens everything up for Aaron Rodgers. He didn't even need to be a superhero. He was just efficient. 329 yards, 3 touchdowns. It was almost easy for him.
It was. And on the flip side, what happens? Josh Allen is completely neutralized. He's held to just 204 yards, throws 2 really bad interceptions.
Yeah, they managed to tie it up at 23 early in the fourth. But once Arizona got the ball back, it was lights out. San Diego couldn't score again. And just like that, Arizona is the last undefeated team standing in the NFC.
It's the perfect blueprint for beating an elite offense. Control the clock, force turnovers. Which, actually brings us very neatly to the other massive game of the week.
The San Antonio Commanders beating Memphis 40-34 in overtime.
Another game where a team won despite being, on paper, statistically dominated.
Oh, pure drama doesn't even begin to cover this one. San Antonio had to rally twice in the fourth quarter just to get to OT.
And all this while Lamar Jackson was just putting on a show. 326 passing yards, 3 scores, plus another 100 on the ground. He was unstoppable.
He was. Memphis outgained San Antonio 569 to 445. A yardage gap like that in a close game is almost unheard of.
And this is where situational football just trumps everything. Memphis should have won, but they lost because of 2 absolutely brutal fumbles. And that's the real question here, right? Is this just a one-off bad game, or does it point to a bigger problem with ball security for them?
That's the core insight, yeah. You can't put up almost 600 yards of offense and then just give the ball away in the biggest moments.
And the worst one came in overtime. They get the ball first, and they fumble it.
Just an unforgivable mistake. And San Antonio's MVP, Jared Goff, he makes them pay instantly. One play, a 31-yard strike, and the game is over.
And we have to talk about Goff in the clutch. Before that game winner, he was the one who led that 75-yard drive with barely a minute left to even force overtime in the first place.
The touchdown to Alamine Zacchaeus, yep.
So San Antonio might not have had the flashy stats, but they had the discipline when it mattered. Memphis didn't. End of story.
So we've seen offense and clutch play. Let's pivot now to the defensive side of the ball, because we saw 2 of the most unusual defensive games of the season this week.
For sure. The first one is pretty straightforward. It's just perfection. The New Jersey Hitmen shut out New York 31-0. The first shutout of the WFL season.
And this wasn't just a shutout, it was. It was total suffocation. New York had 145 total yards, 10 first downs. That's it.
New Jersey is now 4-1, and you can see why. They held the ball for almost 38 minutes and had 0 turnovers.
Yeah.
It was just a clean, dominant performance.
What's so funny about it is that their MVP, their running back Tyrone Tracy Jr., he had 3 touchdowns but only ran for 41 yards.
Which tells you everything, right? It's all about field position. The defense and special teams kept giving the offense the ball inside the 30. All Tracy had to do was punch it in.
Meanwhile, Bryce Young was just running for his life. He was intercepted once. They failed on 2 fourth downs. They never looked like a threat.
No, not at all. So that's one kind of defensive dominance. Clean, efficient, suffocating.
And then you have the Baltimore-DC game.
And then you have chaos.
Utter chaos. Baltimore wins 40-28, but the way they scored early on was just, I have never seen anything like it.
It was almost comical. So get this. Baltimore scored 8 times in this game. But in the entire first quarter, they did not have a single traditional offensive touchdown.
Their lead was built on 3 field goals and a safety.
A safety. And then, as if that wasn't weird enough, they finished the game with a second safety.
2 safeties in one game. For anyone listening, getting 1 is rare enough, too. That points to a complete and total breakdown on the opposing offensive line. It's not a fluke at that point.
It's a systemic failure. It shows how vulnerable DC is when they get backed up against their own end zone. But, you have to give C.J. Stroud and Rome Odunze a ton of credit. They fought back.
Oh, they did. Odunze had 10 catches for 168 yards and 2 scores. Stroud kept making plays, and they actually got within 10 points a couple of times.
But Baltimore just answered every time. And how did they answer? With another non-offensive score, a 37-yard pick six by Jimmy Ward.
It's a theme. DC's comeback was undone by 3 turnovers and 6 sacks. That vulnerability under pressure, we saw it across the league this week.
Absolutely. And that takes us back out west to Denver's comeback win over the still winless Los Angeles Wildcats, 30-24.
Los Angeles is now 0-5, but this game was all about one guy. We have to talk about Geno Smith.
Yes, we do. His MVP numbers were just absurd. Not just the volume, but the precision. 465 passing yards.
On 38 of 45 passing, that's an 84% completion rate. For that kind of yardage, that's just surgical.
It is. When a quarterback is that efficient, you can't rotate your defense, you can't disguise coverages. He just picks you apart. It was masterclass in game management.
And his receivers 8. Brock Bowers, 11 catches, 146 yards. Cedric Tillman, 118 yards, and the go-ahead touchdown with about 4 minutes to go.
And then they just finished the game perfectly, took the lead late, then put together a 10-play drive to kill the clock so Chase McLaughlin could kick the 50-yarder as time expired. It was a textbook finish.
So now let's connect that whole theme of pressure and efficiency to the blowouts we saw in the divisional games. Let's start with Chicago just dismantling St. Louis 48-17.
A huge statement win for the Fire in the North Division. They're 4-1 now, and they looked unstoppable.
It was all built on Baker Mayfield being basically perfect. 22 of 26, 267 yards, 4 touchdowns. Just mistake-free football.
And on the other side of the ball, total pressure on Tua Tagovailoa. He was sacked 4 times. The whole St. Louis offense only had 235 yards.
When your only points in the entire second half come from an interception return, you know your offense is just completely broken.
That's the story, isn't it? The inability to protect the quarterback. And we saw the exact same thing in the South. Birmingham just rolled Atlanta 41-13.
Birmingham also moves to 4-1. They scored touchdowns on 4 of their first 5 possessions. The game was over before halftime.
Shuba Hubbard was great, 3 rushing touchdowns. But the real story for Birmingham is that connection between Bo Nix and his tight end, Tucker Kraft.
Oh, yeah. Nix had 2 touchdowns. Both of them went to Kraft, who had 130 yards receiving. All of a sudden, they have an elite weapon over the middle.
And for Atlanta, same old story. Joe Burrow was sacked 6 times.
6 times? On a quarterback of that caliber, it's just...
Yeah.
It's malpractice. You can't compete when your star player is constantly on his back.
You can't. Which brings us to our last game. We have to give a shout out to Cleveland. They finally got their first win.
They did. They beat the Detroit Wheels 26-14. Detroit now joins LA in that very sad 0-5 club.
But this win wasn't a team effort for Cleveland, let's be honest.
Yeah.
This was one guy dragging his team across the finish line.
DJ Moore.
Sam Darnold was the MVP. He threw for 341 yards. But Moore had 14 catches for 222 of those yards and both touchdowns.
He was the entire offense. It's almost 2/3 of their passing production. I mean, on one hand, it shows they don't have many other options, but on the other, when you have a guy that good, you just feed him.
You do. And Detroit's offense just completely vanished after the first quarter. So if we pull all this together, if we synthesize all this data from the week, what's the big picture?
Well, the story is about individual brilliance. The top performances this week were just off the charts. You had Bijan Robinson with those 202 rushing yards, just owning the game.
You had DJ Moore with that monster receiving game, 222 yards, willing his team to a win.
And you had Geno Smith with that passing clinic, 465 yards on 38 of 45 passing. Those are the kinds of numbers that just decide games, period.
So what does that do to the standings? Well, the undefeated club is down to just 2 members. In the NFC, it's just the Arizona Rattlers standing alone at 5-0.
The only other unbeaten team is the Outlaws, who are 4-0. The top of the NFC is getting very heavy.
It is. And at the bottom, LA and Detroit are firmly planted at 0-5. It's looking like a long season for them.
But that middle ground is getting really interesting. The AFC East is suddenly a real race. New Jersey's at 4-1, but the Stars are right there at 3-1.
Exactly. And in the NFC, while Birmingham and Chicago look dominant at 4-1, you have to wonder if their divisions are just over already. Unless Atlanta and St. Louis can figure out how to block somebody, and fast.
So we saw upsets, we saw offensive explosions, a historic shutout. Week 5 really felt like the league started to sort itself out. Arizona is for real, and the division races are coming into focus.
The margins for error are basically gone now.
So as we wrap up, here's something for you to think about. We're seeing this weird kind of parity in the WFL this year. Only 2 teams are still winless, but at the same time, we have 5 teams that are 4-1 or better. So as we get closer to the midpoint of the season, the question is this level of competition sustainable? Or are the last 2 undefeated teams, Arizona and the Outlaws, about to pull away from everyone else and turn this into a 2-horse race? We'll have to see. Something to think about until our next deep dive.
You've been listening to WFL Inside Access Week 5 review show. Please make sure to like and subscribe to the Replay Sports channel. And be sure to, like and subscribe. That way you'll get notified when the Week 6 preview show comes out a little bit later. Thanks for listening. Have a great day.